This video contains subject matter that may be offensive to some viewers. Discretion is advised. The content is purely the opinion of Darrell D.GRAY and the OMC, Original Man Concepts brand. The ideas and statements expressed in the video should be considered mere opinions and editorial in nature. Any resemblance to individuals' real-life experiences or circumstances is purely coincidental.
No more pussyfooting around. Come, let's fight.
All right, we're back. We're back. I'm back again doing this thing that I like to do. I'm back to talk about a couple of things that I think probably need some attention. I haven't been on in a minute doing a diatribe. Once again, me and my boy Lax are going to get busy on this thing again, where it's both of us doing this thing. I won't be on here very long. But there's one thing that I saw during the week that I probably need to address. Needs to be addressed because it's getting crazy out here, and it's our people. It's our people, man. It ain't just white folks. It's our people, man. It's amazing to me that we are so confused and we're so distracted and we're so easily manipulated. Everybody knows who this Candace Owens clown is. If you don't know who Candace Owens is, there's a video I'm gonna play, but I want to show you a picture of this Candace Owens lady real quick. So Candace Owens is this sister right here. This sister right here, okay? She's what do they call it? An influencer. She's an influencer for Republicans. Now, anybody who knows me, I'm not so into politics in that way. I talk a lot about it because all of these politicians are complicit in everything that's happening to us as a nation of people. And when I say us, I'm talking about the so-called African American. So I want to talk a little bit about something that she brought up with her corny ass. It's the most ridiculous thing. I want to preface this also with, I made a video a few months ago, I think it was in June, that had to do with the Asian hate crime bill that they passed in regard to, over the past year or so, this COVID thing that people are blaming the Asians for. Now, I'm not going to get into how COVID got here and who's to blame, whatever that means. It's here, it's biblical, it's here. The pestilence is here. And we're dealing with it in the 21st century. We've been dealing with it for 2 years. So we're not going to get into why it's here. And who did it, doesn't matter. What's really at stake here is how it affects us. How these things affect us as African Americans. So we need to stop focusing on other things and focus on what's happening to us. That's why I bring up the video that I did back in June as it pertains to hate crime bills and this legislation that they made dealing with hate crimes against Asians. It didn't take much for them to spin that up. But this kind of deals with that. I want you to hear what this sister, what she had to say. So I'm gonna bring it up. Hopefully you can hear the audio. Let me bring this up real quick so you can get an idea of how lost we are as a people. Let me turn up the volume here so you can hear this loud and clear. And I'm not sure if you're going to be able to hear all of it, but we'll see.
are definitely getting their money's worth, because just recently she was on Tucker Carlson's show saying what she's paid to say. Basically smear Black Americans. Let's watch.
One thing I always say, Tucker, is that the left can pull a racist narrative from thin air where it doesn't exist, but when it actually is in their face, they try to avoid it at all costs, especially when perpetrator is a black person against another white person, which obviously happens more often in this country, given the fact that Black Americans are the most murderous group in America by rate.
Okay, so we'll talk about that very last statement regarding African Americans being the most murderous in the country. But I want to give you more context, because I'm sure you noticed in that video, you see a photo of Darrell Brooks show up, and Darrell Brooks was the person who drove his SUV through the holiday parade in Waukesha.
Okay, we're not going to get into that part. There's another part that I want you guys to watch in this particular Young Turks episode. Young Turks is a progressive YouTube channel where they talk about progressive things. 75% to 80%, they're on point with things. They take stances that I don't totally agree with all the time. But in this particular instance, the guy his name is Jink. He is I think the owner, operator, whatever, the president, CEO of this channel. He says something that makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. I want you to hear what he says, and I'm going to go back to what dusty ass Candace Owens said. But let me fast forward to his take on it all. Like I said, sometimes they take stances for things that I don't totally agree with, but he's right 75 to 80% of the time. But let me get there. I want to get there. We're going to start right here. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and hopefully you can hear it. If not, I'll have to bump up the audio somehow. So take a listen to this.
Curious if they don't mention those issues.
Yes, and we go on and on. Of course, there's Dylan Roof, and they wanted to start a race war, etc. Right? But by the way, are there white right-wingers who do mass shootings or crimes that are not political? Yes, all the time. And so there's tons of mass shootings in America. And generally speaking, the right wing has more guns, uses them more often, and so there's a lot more right-wing mass shooters. Are they all political? Absolutely not. Some are. They state it as political, and that's terrorism. The others are just random. They're mad at the people at work. They're random at an ex-girlfriend. They're all emotionally unstable, etc. Right? So you have to use your judgment. In this case, the guy's a lifelong criminal, and he obviously hates women. He ran over that woman. He attacked his.
He's talking about the guy who ran over those people at that
There's no way that guy should have been free.
In Wisconsin.
Nobody on the left wing thinks that. Nobody on the right wing thinks that. So they're trying to make something that isn't political in this case into something that is. But that's the least of it. Look, guys, the reason that I care about this story is, I mean, she just went so far over the top here. I mean, I don't want to bury the lead here. She said, quote, and you saw it with your own eyes, you can rewind it and see it again. Black Americans are the most murderous group in America by race. That's an outrageously absurd thing to say. And so, okay, so if she were to put it in context and say, look, here are the stats on crime, here's the stats on socioeconomic conditions, and you see that unfortunately people with less money sometimes commit more physically violent crimes. People with more money commit more white-collar crimes. They steal more money, but it doesn't involve physical violence, and gave everything context, and then broke it down. You say, oh, okay, that's an interesting conversation.
If there was actual nuance in her argument, right? Right,
and if there were facts shared, etc. Instead, she never shared any of that in the entire segment. She just called black people murderers and said that they were the most murderous group in America by race. So that is exactly why they bring out Candace Owens. Because Tucker Carlson wants to call black Americans murdering savages. But he knows he can't do that. So he's like, that's what we pay Candace for. Hey, Candace, come here. Now, call all black people murderers by race. okay? The most murderous by race. But again, if we're having that conversation, that's not even close. The most murderous by race in the history of America are white right-wingers by a landslide. They did slavery. They started the Civil War. They killed hundreds of thousands of Americans. They enslaved people. We can go on and on with all the crimes of white right-wingers by race. But we don't do that either. We give you the context. We give you the context of slavery, and we don't blame all white people. But that's not what Fox News does. Fox News goes, Candace Owens, we're paying you to come out here and say terrible things about the people in your own race. By the way, she doesn't believe a word of it. She, earlier in her life, sued for racial harassment. So when it was to her advantage, she's like, give me money, give me money, give me money. Oh, I believe in racial harassment and racism is terrible. Now Fox News is giving her money, and all of these other outlets and right-wing billionaires are giving her money. So she's like, oh, yeah, there's no racism except by black people. They hate white people and they're murderers. Well, look, in the past, they would bring you into the house. Now they pay you so you can buy your own house.
He just called her a house
yeah,
nigger,
I said it, Candace.
which is
You're
weird.
The worst of the worst. You're a sellout of extraordinary, by extraordinary measures, calling all black people murderers the way that you just did right there, by race. You're scum of the earth. None of that money is worth it. None of it is worth it. If you sleep at night, you're an even worse monster than I imagined. Thanks for watching the Untrue.
All right. Did he speak truth to power? I mean, that's up for you guys to decide. Calling somebody a sellout, I mean that's relative, and she is a sellout. I don't know that I like to hear it from other races, but it's true. It's true. It's true. She is the epitome of a sellout. Not sure how I feel about another nation calling one of our sisters a sellout. But, hey, the truth is what it is. She's a sellout. Now, let's, like I said, the caveat being the Young Turks, they're very progressive. They take up stances that I don't always agree with. However, they are very passionate about the things that we agree on. And that's what I liked about that particular clip. I can't necessarily find the clip where she actually said that on that Tucker Carlson interview on Fox. I can't find that for some reason, but I can find it through other mediums. So let's address that idea that black people are the most murderous in America. Jink hit it right on the head. There's no one more murderous. And there's some articles about, I saw this article on CNN, I think I talked about it on another video, where white males between certain ages are the most dangerous people in America. That's just hands down the most dangerous in America. This idea that black people are the most murderous in America is a white supremacist selling point that they've been trying to project at us wholeheartedly for centuries now, that we are a threat to society, which is absolutely asinine. As a black male, I know for a fact, having things leveled at me in particular that are overblown, whereas if a white male of the same economic stature, professional stature, did the same thing, there would be superlatives being brought out about that person. Let me make sure I'm using that word right, because sometimes I'll say some things that don't even mean. Let's look up the word superlative. Make sure I'm saying it right. Yes, superlatives describing that white person, which meaning of high degree. These guys are super people. But if I do it, then it becomes, no, he's aggressive, he's mean, he's angry black man, which I embrace some of that because I have every reason to be angry. Every reason to be angry as a black male in America. However, to say that we're the most murderous is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And what really gets me is there's a bunch of black people who believe this nonsense. They literally believe we are. They really believe that. She is probably one of the most dangerous black people in the world because not only does she stoke the coons in our own race, she emboldens white supremacists in the other one. She's the reason why white people feel like they can kill us and destroy us and put us away forever for minor things. She's the reason. And for her to get on television and do that, people, honest to God, truly, we really need to take control of our narratives. That can't stand. We really need to start speaking up when it comes to these type of narratives about us as black people. To say that we're the most murderous, to be quite honest with you, really pointed at African American males. That is part of the war against African American males. Because I'm sure that they don't think that sisters are the most dangerous people in the planet, or excuse me, in this country. They're really saying black men are very dangerous. And for her as a sister to get on that particular site to say that, and this is right after the Ahmaud Arbery convictions, as if to nullify what just happened, as if in some surreptitious way to nullify what just happened. Yeah, that happened. He was innocent, but normally aren't we the most murderous? Didn't they have some justification? So what does that mean? What you're going to have is a bunch of angry white men adjusting how they mete out justice to African American males or African Americans at all. Now we're going to see some provocation. Now it's going to come to a point where we can't even defend ourselves. Because according to Candace, on that white supremacist Fox News, according to them, we are the most murderous. So anytime that we have to use violence, understand the phrase, have to use violence to defend ourselves, then it's going to be like, yeah, but you guys are the most murderous and dangerous. See, white supremacists learn from their mistakes, which is something that us dusty ass niggas don't do. They learn from their mistakes. The thing in my book that I have out, The Sour Pill, How to Survive in a Dominant Society, I talk about how racism is like a machine. Institutionalized racism is like a machine. And just like with any mechanism or machine, there are advances, technological advances. You know, our televisions aren't the same as the televisions we had back in the 70s. They're better. They're smarter. We even have TVs we call smart televisions. That's how smart our televisions have gotten over the past 50 to 60 years. You understand? Racism is the same way. Institutionalized bigotry is the same way. It advances. It's modernized. After this conviction, after they convicted the guy who killed George Floyd, right, Chauvin, and these three guys, the McMichaels and what's his goof, got convicted of murder, malice murder, for Travis. See, they're not going to give up. They're not going to give up the power. They're not going to give it up. So now you got this clown, this heifer here going to get on here, this, Benedict Arnold of black women, and say that we are the most murderous race in America. Now they're starting to nuance it. Okay? Watch for the provocations now. Watch for the provocations now. Okay? Not just jogging down the street. Not just being pulled over. Now it's going to be, I have to provoke you into defending yourself, whether that be in a regular, fisticuffs, throwing hands, or with weapons, and using plausible deniability, they're going to say, but aren't they the most murderous people? I had to defend myself against this guy because Candace said that they're murderous. They are the most murderous. See, when they get advocacy from one of ours, when they get advocacy from one of our own people, they use that as a lube for a machine. That's why you see these coons coming in and advocating this nonsense. They're saying these things. They're not going to, what did my boy Tariq Nasheed said? They're not going to take an L. White supremacy will not take an L from us. Understand that. They are not going to take an L. This year, 2 white people, actually 4 white people. If you don't even count the lady who got away with murdering my man in his own apartment last year, the police officer, right? In the last year, the ones that we know, at least 5 white folks are going to jail, going to prison for killing black folks. They won't take that L. I'm telling you, they won't take that L. So now they got to start lubing the machine now. Let's bring in some niggas. Let's bring in some dusty ass niggas to say, look, don't y'all realize how dangerous these people are? Even their own people are saying they're dangerous. So I would tell all my brothers and sisters, watch for the provocation. Defend yourself. Defend yourself. But make sure you got your videos if you can get them. Don't let these people run up on you crazy. If you have to defend yourself, defend yourself. Don't kick off, because that doesn't help us at all. But watch for the provocation. Candace Owens is a threat. And we need to come up on the net. We need to talk about her. We need to shun her. We need to make these people understand she doesn't speak for anybody but y'all. She's one of y'all. We have to use counter propaganda with this propaganda. That's propaganda. We're not just trying to win the fights in the streets. What we're trying to do is win the propaganda war. We need to win the propaganda war. That doesn't mean that we always got to get physical with it. Be prepared, but don't, we're not going to be the catalyst for violence. But we need to be prepared. But here's the thing. Warfare comes it comes with mental warfare, psychological warfare, which is almost the same thing, media warfare, propaganda, right? And we need to call it out on every level. We need to protect ourselves from the coons. We need to protect ourselves from the emasculating of black men. We need to protect ourselves from the emasculating of black men, right? We have to protect ourselves against being vilified on every stratum. That we're the enemies, that we are the most aggressive, we are the least educated, that black men don't want to protect their families, that black men don't like black women, which is crazy. And that's just your front line. We also got to spiritually, we got to protect ourselves. We got to stop talking about how white people are not God. We need to get out of that. We got to start understanding that identity means everything, especially to them. We got to understand who's in the Bible, who that Bible's written for, what our God actually looks like in the scriptures. And understand that we don't have to cape for everybody. Candace Owens is up there caping for white people. Vicariously, what she's doing, she's caping for white people who might put hands on black people. She's setting up a defense for white people who might put hands on black people. We don't need to defend white folks. White folks do not need our protection. That's point blank. So spiritually, we need to stop thinking that we have to do that. We need to stop turning these people into deities. That their what am I trying to say? That their sensibilities are more valuable than ours, which is what this is. We need to get away from that. We need to understand that there's something more ethereal going on that needs to change. There's something more doctrinal that needs to change, more spiritual that needs to change. And that's to take them off their God pedestal and put them where they need to be, whatever that is for you. But prepare yourself for the provocation. Prepare yourselves, brothers and sisters, for this thing. And we got to be watching out for these traitors here who would throw us under the bus. We need to fight the media warfare the same way they're fighting it. We need to come up on the net. We need to start putting out these messages at home and on all your social media platforms that this type of nonsense will not stand. And it can't just come from white folks. You can't wait for white folks to advocate for us. They need to see black faces doing it on every level. Everybody should take the time at least once a week. I challenge all of you to at least once a week, record yourself saying something that is diametrically opposing to white supremacist ideology. And that doesn't mean talking about equality. See, equality, low key, is a white supremacist talking point. Because they'll never say you guys are better at certain things. They'll give you power in certain things. They'll give you power in certain things. But they're not going to give you power in things that mean something. They'll let you be sports heroes. They'll let you be sexual beings. They'll let you be stronger, faster, whatever that is, singing and dancing, things that don't bring any real ground truth power, like turning off the water, turning off the lights, turning off the food supplies, jacking up the prices of gas, whatever that is. That's where the power is. Not selling alcohol and sneakers. They'll give us that power. Right? They'll give us that. That's where we're equal. You could be equal in the workplace a little bit. But talking equality is a white supremacist talking point. So I challenge each and every one of you to get out there and say something that projects us above. That counters white supremacist talking points. And I don't mean by saying that we can sing and dance better. That's just goofy. Messages about black men being responsible, black women being responsible. Black people are civic leaders in a way that's moral. Black people are in the scriptures. Black people are the chosen people of the Bible. For the most part, black people are probably more moral as a whole than any other nation on the planet. The so-called African American, I would say that. These are the things that need to be put out. These are the things that need to be said. And then watch our behaviors behind that. Police ourselves in that regard. So that's all I really wanted to get. I wanted to get that out today, guys. I'll be popping up here in the next couple of weeks. You're going to see some changes to some of the content I put out because I'm about to launch some other endeavors. We'll talk about that much later, but that's what I wanted to put out today. You guys have a great week. Hey, keep your head on a swivel and just know that We got to get busy out here. We got to start speaking truth to power and speaking, as they say, speaking things into existence, which isn't magical. It means say it, then do it. Say it, then do it. All right, 1.